For this week's Jolt of Faith, I'm going to continue on the theme of prayer. Last week we talked a little bit about meditation. This week I want to talk about a form of prayer that most of us probably don't think about, but it's called praise. You know, we all know how to pray to God when we need something. That's called petitioning. When we're praying for someone else, that's called intercession. But praise is simply gratitude, giving thanks to God for the answer to a prayer, giving thanks to God for a beautiful sunrise, giving thanks to God for whatever. And praise should be part of all of our prayer lives. But I think for most of us, that's the one we either don't know about or that's the one we often forget about. We all know how to go to God with those 911 calls when something's wrong. When's the last time we've simply sat in the Lord's presence and thanked Him? Thanked Him for whatever comes to mind. Our family, our jobs, the fact that we have food on our table, a roof over our head, the fact that we live in a free country, etc., etc. There are thousands and thousands of reasons each and every day to give thanks to God. And when we integrate praise into our prayer, that act of calling to mind God's blessings to us, both great and small, it also does another important thing. It gets us through the rough time. We've all had the experience of praying for something that didn't happen the way we wanted to, or maybe is still unfolding, praying for a loved one to get better and they don't, praying for a marriage to be salvaged and it doesn't work out, etc., etc. And it's very easy in those times to get so frustrated, to get so downtrodden that we close in on the blinders and get angry with God. And that's where praise comes into account. If I am praising God regularly in my prayers, when that time happens when a prayer is not answered, something doesn't work out the way I want, or there's an outright tragedy, it's much harder for me to slip into that dark space because I've been constantly calling to mind how much I have been blessed by God, how many prayers God has answered, and how much God has given to me, that it helps me balance out when things don't work out or aren't answered in the way I would like. Praise not only gives glory to God, it helps us remember how much God has given to us and continues to give to us. And that's why, as a spiritual director told me a long time ago, if we are not integrating praise in our lives, when a prayer is not answered, it hits us a lot harder than for those who do integrate praise. So that's a great wake-up call for all of us, to integrate that type of prayer, thanking God for big things and even small things, each and every day, so that when that next storm does come, that next prayer isn't answered, God seems to be silent when we're crying out for help, we can balance that with how many times God has answered us, heard us, and responded to help us keep a better perspective. Not a sermon, not a homily, but just a good jolt of faith that we all can use from time to time.